I'm gonna go with Jack Shore, but man, it can all come down to the counter shots. That could potentially make the fight for sure. Valiev moves in, he gets a little bit too wild. I'm going with Jack Shore, and I'm gonna go by a decision win. He's almost a 2-1 underdog against Nikita Krylov. You know what that means, man. That triangle choke is gonna succeed again. And ultimately, I can see Ilia having a hard time finding Herbert's chin from a distance. If he can make his way in, it could be there. And everything would become a lot easier for Topuria if he lands body shots. Left hook to the body, go up over the top. These kind of combinations will definitely work on Herbert. But when it comes to trading, Rodrigo Vargas could potentially get the better of Paddy Pimblett. So I'm gonna go Tom Aspinall, 3rd round submission. Mystic Weasel struck strong on this card. That card was legendary. Greatest fight night card of all time. Better than most of the pay-per-views I've ever seen. The UFC London card wrapped up, and it just shows to everybody you cannot miss fight night cards. On paper, it looked really good. I mean, it was stacked from the bottom to the top. There's a lot of finishing quality, and specifically so many prospects to prove a name for themselves. It was going to deliver on some level, but the level that it reached, I'm blown away. Still blown away. I mean, the UFC gave more bonuses than they ever had before. I think 9 bonuses, man. They never really do that, and a lot of the UK fighters got those bonuses. The UK fighters delivered not only by winning, but putting on a show for the whole world to see. From Tom Aspinall becoming the best English heavyweight so far, to Arnold Ellen putting on a statement for that featherweight division, Paddy Pimblett with a good win, Molly McKenna with a knockout of the year. It's only been 3 months, so Molly McKenna with a knockout of 3 months. Paul Craig defying the odds again. Jack Shore showing to be one of the best prospects in MMA. And of course, Muhammad Mokaev, who I'm still saying might be the best prospect in MMA, like the #1 of all weight classes. Cory, McKenna, Mike Grundy, and Jai Herbert are the only UK fighters that didn't really deliver. McKenna didn't lose that badly. She got outpunched, overpowered in the exchanges, even though she had more activity in the fight. It was Reed that had the better shots, more effective strikes that were landing on McKenna, specifically the right hand, long left combination that you see some fighters throw. Conor McGregor actually throws that a lot. It's a good technique to cover a lot of distance forward, because before her right hand alone was falling short, so she had to extend the combo. Then you have Mike Grundy getting submitted less than a minute into the fight. He's a great wrestler, but left the neck out there, just like a lot of wrestlers naturally do. And then Jai Herbert had a good start to the fight, looked like he was on his way to beat one of the most talked about prospects in the UFC, and then gets viciously knocked out. So 7 out of the 10 UK fighters won. And that's a good record, man, especially when you go to Tom Aspinall, because everyone's win was impressive, but Aspinall is now a top 5 fighter. That's the difference here. He beat Alexander Volkov, who's a legit contender for the heavyweight division. And how easily he beat him, he exceeded expectations. I thought it would be a little bit more back and forth. I thought Volkov would be able to tag Aspinall on the feet. Aspinall always had the takedown, but I did not think it would come so easily for him. I talked about how Aspinall was going to be much faster than Volkov, and that would cause Volkov the ultimate issue. If you're faster than Volkov, it's hard for him to fight you. But man, he saw that straight coming from a mile away, got right under it for the double leg takedown, settled in half guard, and got that straight armbar. That submission is so hard to pull off. I mean, most people don't use it to actually submit the opponent. They use it to create some openings for them to transition and stuff. He used it to finish, and he got it in the first round. I mean, Fabricio Verdum could even do that to Volkov. And this is great, man. We need guys like Tom Aspinall in the heavyweight division. He's under 30 years old, which is something we don't normally see. Him and Tai Tuivasa, 2 young guys, have entered the top 5. And personally, even though Aspinall wants to fight Tuivasa, I don't think Tuivasa can beat him. Aspinall's too fast. He's too slick with the grappling. His takedowns are shown to be effective. He's so much taller and longer, and he's not going to get into a war. He's going to just out-technique him. That's the best way to beat Tuivasa. We saw when Tuivasa fought JDS, and Tuivasa wasn't able to get around even an older version of JDS's technique. I think Tom Aspinall could take that to a whole different level. And I think Aspinall, Ciryl Gane, Stipe Miocic, and Francis Ngannou are above everybody else in this division. That is tier number 1. Ngannou, Gane, Stipe, Aspinall. Those are the 4 top guys in this division. After that, you go to Tuivasa, Blades, Lewis, and Volkov. Can I see Tom Aspinall being a champion in the future? Yeah, I can see it. But only if Francis Ngannou leaves the sport. I don't see Tom Aspinall beating Ngannou at all. In fact, I don't see anybody beating Ngannou besides Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane's the only guy that has a major chance of winning. Stipe can make it competitive with Francis Ngannou, but I don't see him beating him. Tom Aspinall could do some things, but I think he hits a brick wall. So who do I want to see Tom Aspinall fight next? I know everybody's calling for Tuivasa, and I would not be opposed to it at all. But if we really want to get technical in this heavyweight division, let's go Ciryl Gane versus Tom Aspinall. That's a fight, man. That's probably the highest skilled fight in the heavyweight division right now. And as for Alexander Volkov, he's losing to contenders but beating everybody else. He lost to Aspinall, he lost to Ciryl Gane, he lost to Curtis Blades and Derek Lewis. All 4 of these guys were top contenders. But then look who he beat: Marcin Tybura, Alistair Overeem, Walt Harris, Greg Hardy. He did beat Fabricio Verdum, who was on his way out the door. But when you look at Volkov's resume, not a lot of top guys he beat. Most of the credit comes off that Verdum win. So personally, I like to see him fight Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Then we look at another UK contender getting a big victory is Arnold Allen. Although he didn't beat a top contender of the featherweight division, Dan Hooker was at least top 10 at lightweight, and that's going to allow Allen to now pick a top 5 opponent in his own division. Kelvin Kattar is the fight to probably pick next. Man, he ran right through Dan Hooker. It wasn't even close at all. Hooker did not really look the same. He was kind of slow. You can see that the weight cut definitely affected him. Maybe the wars as well affected him. He probably didn't think Arnold Allen was as good as he was, and all Allen was doing was pull countering him and then flurrying. Hooker's lack of boxing defense could not get him away from that onslaught, because usually when Dan Hooker gets hit, he's able to punch back at the opponent. It worked for him at one time. He actually rocked Arnold Allen a little bit, but nothing else went good for him. Hooker needs to readjust to what he wants in his career, because one thing's for certain: he cannot go to 145 ever again. He wanted to change weight classes, but he changed the wrong direction. If he wants to change weight, go up to 170, not to 145. The guy's huge. Even for a lightweight, he looked big. Like I said in my breakdown video, if he was changing weight classes because of what happened with Islam Makhachev, that's not a good reason. That reason will have him hurt himself, because he doesn't need to drop weight to be successful. He was never a great featherweight. He was a great lightweight, but never a great featherweight. He never had a win streak in the 145-pound division, had win streaks at 155, and almost beat some of the best guys. I'm gonna be honest here. I think that Dustin Poirier fight ruined him. I don't think he was ever the same after that, because you notice some of the fights afterward, he wasn't really fighting the same way. He didn't have the same fire to go to war with the opponent. Right afterward, he fights Michael Chandler and never even pressured the entire fight. He was only on the back foot and threw almost no punches. He fought Nasrat and wrestled the whole fight. He fought Islam, did nothing. He fights Arnold Allen, does nothing. I'm starting to think that that Dustin Poirier fight changed him, and he has declined before we even knew it. But now Arnold Allen, man, 9-fight win streaks warrant title shots usually. He just never be a top 5 guy. So if he wants to go fight Kelvin Kattar, that's a good fight. That's an amazing fight, actually. I do favor Arnold Allen to maybe win the fight, but boxing-wise, he's gonna have a tough time with Kattar. Try to take the fight to the ground, kick his legs constantly, use his whole MMA skill set to win that fight, and I think he can do it absolutely. Champion one day? I'm not gonna lie, I don't see it. The farthest I see him going is fighting for a belt one day. I don't see him going past that. And speaking of another fighter that a lot think will never become champion is Paddy Pimblett. He's getting these quote-unquote easy fights. At least the fans are saying that. Even actually some fighters are saying that. Getting lesser competition. And he's not running through these guys. He's getting clipped and tagged in fights that he should be able to just completely dominate. Luigi hurt him. Kazula hit him clean and just played a bad game. Wrestle when he should not have tried. Try to go to the ground when he should not have tried. Should have stuck it on the feet and fight Paddy at Paddy's weakest. But the more Paddy wins, the less mistakes these guys are going to make against him. And the better his opponents are going to be, especially lightweight. You can't go too far without fighting someone who has legit skills. There's guys like Guram Kutaladze that's outside the top 15. There's guys like Drew Dober. There's guys like Terrence McKinney. Soon enough, he's going to be fighting one of these guys. And man, he's going to have to get a lot better before that happens. And we're talking about maybe 2 fights. If he doesn't get exponentially better in like 2 fights, this train might get derailed early. And we know a lot of people don't want that to happen. So the opponents are going to have to be picked carefully here. Or at least as carefully as possible. I'm going to be honest, this is just my opinion. Do I see Paddy one day becoming a champion? I do not. Do I see Paddy one day becoming top 5? If he improves more than I think he can, then yes. The farthest I'll give him as to what I see so far is like the lower end of top 10. I think that's the farthest he goes. That's just my opinion. I could be proven wrong. We don't know how much better he's actually going to get. But when we say he's a young fighter, he's not that young. He's not like Topuria or Muhammad Mokaev, right? He's not 24, 25, 22. The guy's 27 years old with a lot of fights in his career. So we're going to have to step up a little bit in the competition. And that step up is Ilia Topuria. I know he doesn't want to fight him. And that's a bit of a bummer. That's not great to hear from a fighter. Because it's already started. People are saying that Paddy Pimblett is scared of Ilia Topuria. But that is the fight that everybody wants to see. What wasn't so great was the Gunnar Nelson and Takashi Sato fight. Gunnar Nelson won this by a decision, and he was really trying for the submission, man. He was really going for the rear naked choke, but Takashi Sato was so defensive in the fight. He didn't want to do anything offensive. On the feet, on the ground, whatever it was, he just wanted to be a brick wall. That's it. Stop any offense from getting through, and ultimately just lost on the scorecards. I don't know how you could do that for 15 minutes and be okay with your performance. At some moment inside of those 15 minutes, you have to know, okay, I'm not doing anything. I'm losing this fight. I gotta do something here. But that never happened for Takashi Sato. It seemed like he was content on just dragging this fight as long as he can without getting finished, and that's a victory for him. We've seen this kind of thing happen in the past, and it's unfortunate for Gunnar Nelson. It's hard to fight someone who refuses to do anything offensive. He was trying for a lot of right hands into those body locks, trying to get those rear naked chokes, and honestly, Gunnar Nelson looked good off a 3-year layoff. A lot of people don't know that. Gunny has not fought for 3 years, and he looked amazing out there. Perhaps he could run it back with Santiago Ponzinibbio. Molly McCann with a knockout of the year, spinning back elbow in a fight where it looked like she was gassing. It looked like she didn't have much left in the tank, and the fight seemed like it was going to go to a decision. Spinning elbow from the clinch, where Carolina is at her strongest, and put her out cold. I believe it's the first spinning elbow knockout in women's MMA history, or at least in the UFC. That was such a good win. I did not see that out of McCann because she's never had a knockout in her entire UFC career. And she started the fight strong. I mean, blitzing down Carolina for the whole first round, blowing her wad a little bit, starting to tire her out, and didn't have that same kind of output after the first round. And it seemed like Carolina was coming back in the fight. She was trying to get into the clinch, she was landing some kicks, and then boom, out of nowhere, probably got the biggest pop out of all the fighters on the card. Walking around with the belt was pretty cool, but let's be honest, no one's even gonna beat Shevchenko in their dreams. And speaking of dreams, Jai Herbert was having a lot of those after Ilia Topuria landed that right hand to his jaw. I mean, one of the most picture-perfect overhand right connections you will ever see in the sport. And it came off that body shot. If he didn't land that left hook to the body, Jai Herbert might have blocked that overhand because he saw that he was actually going to do it. He picked his hand up from his body, but he didn't pick it up high enough. The body shot caused his focus to be a little bit lower, and that's where the overhand landed. But man, that head kick that Topuria took to his chin, that was a scary moment. In real time, I thought he got put out. I thought it was over for him. I was like, wow, he just got knocked out like that, and then he bounced back up and went for the single leg when Jai Herbert chased him to the ground. That reach is something else, man. I know I said that Jai Herbert is the biggest lightweight. I thought he was longer than Alvarez, but it turned out they have the same reach and Alvarez is 2 inches taller. Okay, so Yoel Alvarez is actually the biggest lightweight. Jai Herbert is the second overall. But regardless, that kind of reach is something you don't normally see in that lightweight division, and it's something that no featherweight is really going to fight. When you look at someone like Zabit is 6'2", but he has a 74-inch reach. Jai Herbert's 6'1" with a 77-inch reach, and also he has knockout power. It was going to be dangerous for Topuria on the feet no matter what, because he's never fought this before. He's never went up against someone like that, so he had to make it work somewhat. I was surprised he didn't wrestle more though. I know Herbert was throwing up those knees, but Topuria was really brave at just trying to box it out with him. Not even really using kicks, just his hands to get in. Risky choices by Topuria, and he almost paid for it. But eventually, he was able to figure out that range, find his way in, connect to the body, and then overhand over the top. It was really off of the jabs that he was able to slip his way in and just showing his advancement in the boxing. He didn't need to take this fight. That's the thing a lot of people forget. He didn't need to take this fight. He was a short notice replacement in a weight class he does not compete in. So all the credit to Ilia Topuria for everything he did. I want to see him fight Paddy Pimblett. Even though lightweight's not for him, the fight has too much build up to it. I have a feeling we're not going to see it though. I think they understand it's too dangerous of a fight for Paddy Pimblett, and also they don't want Topuria to lose either. Topuria is a prospect in that featherweight division that can go very, very far. He's undefeated. Undefeated is a thing that a lot of promoters are going to love about an MMA fighter. It's hard to be undefeated in this sport. Amirkhani got that slick Darce choke very early in the fight. Mike Grundy went in for the takedown, exposed his neck. Amirkhani just quickly snatched onto it. Good upset for Amirkhani. I did not expect that from him. I missed the Sergey Pavlovich fight. I think I saw the knockout with the right straight uppercut. That guy is so powerful. It's hard to erase from your memory what Alistair Overeem did to him though. He would be undefeated if it wasn't for that. And speaking of a guy that's hard to erase from your memory, Paul Craig always finds a way. I know I talked about it hours ago, but he still always finds a way. If he's an underdog, put money on this guy. His final form comes out when he's an underdog. The bigger the underdog he is, the better the fighter he becomes. Which means put him against John Jones. He'll take him out. He'll triangle anybody in this division. But seriously, this was a tailor-made fight for Paul Craig to defy the odds here, because Nikita Krylov is a guy who will make mistakes in a fight. And Paul Craig is good at capitalizing on opportunities. That triangle choke was very slick. I mean, the best triangle choke in light heavyweight history. I'm pretty confident to say that. And it's great to see someone like Paul Craig do this well in his career when he had a bit of a shaky run early on. There was a point where he was scared he was going to get cut from the UFC. And now he's on a 6 undefeated streak. He did something right, and he called out Anthony Smith. I love to see it. Do I see Paul Craig ever becoming a champion? I'm going to be honest, I don't see it. In fact, if he beats Anthony Smith, it's hard for me to see him go any further than that. If I'm going to be objectively honest, I hope he does go farther. I hope he proves me wrong. But as of what I see, he can submit anybody. He can capitalize and come back in any fight. Remember, he submitted Valiev. But at the same time, there's some of these guys are not going to make as many mistakes. And that trick of his is not going to work on everybody. And then Jack Shore gained the decision win against Timur Valiev. He looked amazing. I said the takedowns probably weren't going to be much of a factor. They're going to try it on each other, but it might cancel out. But they were able to get a couple off the kicks. So not just a traditional shot, they were catching kicks and taking each other down from there because they're both kickers. They're both good body kickers and leg kickers. But the big difference of the fight is exactly what I talked about. Jack Shore's hands. Jack Shore's hands combined with Timur Valiev's blitz. Valiev could be a bit too reckless moving forward using his hands. And he got dropped for this. When it was a neutral ground, it was a very even fight. When Valiev got aggressive, he was paying for it. And I personally could have saw that third round being a 10-8 for Jack Shore, hurting Valiev over and over again. And that's a big win for Jack Shore. He's undefeated, 16-0. Get this guy to fight someone ranked. He's 5-0 in the UFC. If Sean O'Malley can get into the top 15 already, how can Jack Shore not? Have him end Rafael Sunsao. Okay, no, that sounds kind of mean. You can give Rafael Sunsao to really build Jack Shore's name off of him. Or if Marlon Moraes wants to fight again, either of those fights are great for sure. We had the weird scorecard for Cory McKenna and Elise Reed. Derek clearly was not seeing the fight clearly. Scoring at 30-27 for McKenna. Is Derek clearly Welsh? Because there's absolutely no way. How can you, like what? Reed obviously won that third round. No questions asked. And most people gave her the second round as well. 30-27? How? I would really like to talk to him and ask him how? Where did you see that? What rule set were you going off of? Because there's no way you give 30-27 to Cory McKenna. And of course, starting that whole card was Mokaev getting that early submission win, 58 seconds on Cody Durden, land a flying knee, which is something I did not expect him to land. If he was going to drop Cody Durden, I thought it was going to be with a head kick. And again, I think it was a high elbow guillotine if I remember correctly. That's my personal favorite submission win. And this guy I can see becoming a champion. Jack Shore maybe as well. But Mokaev, in my opinion, is the most promising fighter on this entire card. He's 21 years old. And that's the end of the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the card. It was legendary. Leave in the comments what you guys think about the card. What were your favorite fights? What were your favorite finishes? What did you think about Derek Cleary? And I'll see you guys in the next video.